Your dog is lying on her side in the center of the living room rug. Her breathing is shallow and rapid, causing her ribcage to rise and fall in an irregular rhythm. Suddenly, her front paws begin to paddle in a frantic, localized motion against the floorboards. Her muzzle flinches, and a series of soft, muffled yips escape her throat. You reach down to touch her shoulder, thinking she is experiencing a physical spasm or a frightening nightmare. You assume the dog is suffering from distress that requires your immediate intervention to provide comfort. This is a physiological error. What you are actually seeing is a high-level neurological processing event. The dog is not in pain. She is navigating a sophisticated memory replay loop. By the end of this video, you will understand the specific clinical term for this nocturnal activity, the sleep memory consolidation loop. We will deconstruct the science of canine dreaming and replace your assumptions with a map of their internal brain activity. Let's begin. The canine brain follows a sleep architecture nearly identical to that of the human brain, characterized by alternating cycles of activity. This architecture is divided into two primary stages: non-REM and REM sleep. REM sleep stands for rapid eye movement sleep, a phase where the brain exhibits high-frequency electrical signals known as theta waves. Theta waves are the biological markers of memory consolidation and emotional regulation. This transition is managed by a structure in the brainstem called the pons. The pons acts as a neurological gatekeeper that initiates a state of muscular atonia. Atonia is the temporary paralysis of major muscle groups that prevents the dog from physically acting out her dreams. When this gate is active, the hippocampus takes control of the brain's resources. The hippocampus is the primary filing system for daily experiences, responsible for sorting and storing sensory data. This biological foundation ensures that the brain has the necessary off time to categorize social information. This process is the engine of canine learning and the primary way a dog reinforces her bond with you. You are sitting on the couch in the evening while your dog rests at your feet. Her legs begin to kick rhythmically against the carpet, and her whiskers twitch with every shallow breath. You believe she is chasing a squirrel or responding to a primitive hunting instinct that has surfaced in her sleep. However, the clinical data suggests a much more personal narrative involving her recent interactions. Finding from EEG studies at Haute-Lorraine University shows that dogs exhibit theta wave activity during these sleep twitches that is identical to the patterns seen in human dreaming. The neurological sequence for this behavior begins in the midbrain's motor centers. These centers send instructions to the motor cortex to initiate the physical patterns associated with running or searching. Because the pons has initiated a state of muscular atonia, the movement is reduced to these small, visible twitches that you see on the surface. Inside the hippocampus, the brain is performing a process known as hippocampal replay. This is the high-speed refiring of the exact neural pathways that were active during her waking hours. If you walk the dog through a specific wooded trail 4 hours ago, those exact neurons are firing again in the same chronological order. The brain is not just remembering the walk, it is reliving the sensory data to strengthen the synaptic connections. This process, known as long-term potentiation, is how the dog learns the layout of her environment and the reliability of your presence. The brain is effectively saving the file of the day's experiences, ensuring that the navigation skills and social bonds formed are permanently encoded into her long-term memory. The emotional intensity of the day's events dictates which files are prioritized for this replay, meaning that your shared activities are the primary content of her nocturnal world. This is a projector running a film in a darkened room, where the light is visible even if the actors have moved on. You should allow the dog to remain in this state without interruption. Waking a dog during hippocampal replay disrupts the synaptic strengthening process and can lead to a decrease in cognitive performance and an increase in daytime irritability. The house is silent in the middle of the night, but you are awoken by a series of low whines and soft, high-pitched yip sounds coming from the corner where your dog is sleeping. You think she is crying for help or responding to a dream of being lost or abandoned in the dark. Clinical observation reveals a different cognitive function related to the processing of social pressure. Findings from researchers like Matthew Walker demonstrate that REM sleep is the primary period for emotional first aid, a time when the brain processes and defuses social stress. The neurological sequence for these vocalizations involves the intense activation of the amygdala. The amygdala is the brain's emotional appraisal center, responsible for evaluating the significance of social cues such as the tone of your voice or the presence of a stranger. During REM sleep, the brain relives these social interactions, but does so in an environment free from the actual stress hormones like norepinephrine. This is a form of nocturnal regulation that allows the dog to strip away the emotional charge from a memory while keeping the functional information intact. The vocalizations you hear are the result of the brainstem's inhibitory signals being momentarily overwhelmed by the intensity of the emotional replay. This process is essential for the dog's emotional resilience. By reliving a social exchange in the safety of sleep, the dog's brain can categorize the event as safe or known, which reduces its future impact on her stress levels. The brain is essentially defusing the emotional triggers of the day, so the dog can wake up with a neutral baseline and a higher capacity for social tolerance. If this processing is interrupted, the dog may remain in a state of unprocessed arousal, leading to hypervigilance during the day. It is a librarian shelving books after a chaotic day, making sure every volume is in its proper place before the morning starts. You must resist the urge to soothe the dog out of this state. These sounds are the outward symptoms of a healthy brain performing vital maintenance on its social and emotional maps. Your dog has been in a deep, twitching sleep for 20 minutes, but she suddenly snaps awake, lifts her head, and immediately scans the room until her eyes lock onto yours. You think she is hungry, or that her dream was so frightening that she needed to verify your presence to feel safe. The neurological reality concerns the transition from internal processing back to external monitoring. Findings show that a dog's brain requires between 12 and 14 hours of total rest to maintain healthy cortisol levels and facilitate neurogenesis in the hippocampus. The neurological sequence for this sudden wakefulness is the reality confirmation phase of the sleep cycle. The dog's brain has just completed an intense cycle of REM memory consolidation, where you were likely the primary subject of the replay. As she transitions out of sleep, the brain moves from the internal replay mode to the external monitoring mode managed by the prefrontal cortex. The first data point her amygdala seeks is the status of the secure base, which is you. Because the dream state involved a high-intensity simulation of your presence, the brain requires immediate sensory confirmation that the social regulator is still physically present in the real world. This is a reality check for the autonomic nervous system that confirms the reliability of the memory the brain just stored. If the dog is consistently denied this 12 to 14-hour window of undisturbed rest, the brain's ability to process the social bond is compromised. The chronic elevation of stress hormones from lack of sleep interferes with the hippocampus's ability to create new, positive associations. The dog becomes more anxious and less capable of trusting the environment because her brain has not had the chance to clean its filters and archive the day's successes. This is a compass needle spinning frantically until it finds the North Pole and locks into position. You should prioritize a quiet and predictable sleep environment where the dog is never startled awake. A dog that reaches the end of her REM cycles is a dog that is biologically prepared to trust you and respond to your training. We have now reached the core of the canine sleep experience, the sleep memory consolidation loop. The most significant revelation of this neurological map is that your dog is not just dreaming of abstract concepts, she is reliving you. The scientific consensus across EEG and hippocampal studies is that dogs utilize their sleep to solidify their social reality. When your dog's paws move and her muzzle twitches, she is navigating the specific architecture of your shared life. She is re-walking the trails, rehearing your vocal cues, and reprocessing the emotional atmosphere of your home. This loop is the reason why training is most effective when followed by a period of rest. The dog's brain uses the sleep cycle to move your instructions from the temporary folder of the midbrain to the permanent archive of the long-term memory centers. The REM memory bridge is the primary mechanism that allows a dog to become more reliable and emotionally stable over time. By providing the dog with a safe, undisturbed space to dream, you are providing the biological resources necessary for her to understand her world. The dreaming dog is a dog at work, performing the most important cognitive labor of her day. She is not just resting her body, she is building the neural framework of her relationship with you. Every twitch and every soft whine is evidence of a brain that is deeply invested in its social environment. When she looks at you after waking, she is not just seeing you for the first time that day. She is seeing the person she has just spent the last 20 minutes relearning to trust. The dog's nocturnal life is a mirror of her waking life, focused entirely on the signals you provide. The sleep memory consolidation loop is the final proof of the dog's dedication to her social unit. She does not dream of a life without you. She dreams of the one she has, reinforcing the safety and the bond of your presence in every cycle of theta waves. The dog is using her sleep to make sure that when she wakes, she knows exactly who you are and why she is safe in your world.